Welcome to The Third Chair, a show about real people, real stories, real life. And here are your hosts for The Third Chair, Peter Grigg and Doug Bazeski.
Well, we have another interesting guest, a businessman with a happy family who loses it all and then loses even more.
Oh, yeah, the alcohol and drugs, and it was in that order.
And then overcame it and is out now speaking as a professional speaker at public schools, middle schools, high schools, just trying to connect with the kids. So I'm really excited about having our guest tonight, who is James Dallin.
It will be interesting.
Well, welcome, Jamie. We're excited here at The Third Chair to have James Dallin with us tonight. Hi, James.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great.
All the way from Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Yes, that's fantastic. The land of the cold and home of the what?
Well, we're probably about as cold as they are.
Yeah, I bet he's a little colder. Our weather wasn't bad tonight. So, just so we let our viewers know that James has some incredible stories to tell with us. James was a successful businessman. He had a time of a struggle with addiction, and after beating that, he now is a speaker in the schools to help kids not go on drugs and encourage them to get treatment if they did. So we're really excited to have you here, James.
Excited to be here. I appreciate it.
We're going to take you to a time. We're going to start all this off. You were 32, married, 3 kids. And what was life like at that time for you?
It was really good. You know, I had a couple businesses. My greatest accomplishments were doing well. I mean, we weren't rich or anything, but we had money, and that made me feel good because, you know, I felt like I was the provider, and you know, and I felt good, and it was the greatest accomplishment that I had made. So our family, we're doing good. We're happy, and I started another company, and we're playing around with that, and it was probably the most successful 2 years of my life, right before.
I mean, you've joked that you started online Uber Eats. Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, you know, I got the idea from working retail. So what would happen is corporate companies would come in a hurry, and they'd say, "Give me all your fruit trays. Hurry, I need that. I have a corporate meeting this morning." And I thought to myself, and you know, what if I build a website that just said, you know, we'll order them and I'll deliver them to your corporate. I'll deliver them wherever you want. You don't even have to worry about running into Walmart before work. That's where the original idea came. And so I thought, and the profit was there. Mm-hmm. I looked at how much Walmart was charging for those and how much it actually cost. And so that's what gave me the idea to start that up. And we did wedding presentations and things like that, but mostly fruit trays and vegetable trays right to your door. Boom. Family reunions, you know, graduation parties, things like that. Yeah. So I mean, it was great. It was great. I mean, I was living my dream. You know, I opened the one business, and real estate was going good, and so it was funding the catering, and I was just loving it. I thought I was unstoppable at that time.
And at this time of your life, you had grown up in a way that you didn't do a lot of drinking or smoking pot or other drugs. Is that right?
Yeah, up to this point, to a lot of people's surprise, I hadn't tried anything. I mean, I haven't tried marijuana. I hadn't had a sip, not even a sip of alcohol, nothing. It was just something that I grew up just not, well, I was taught not to growing up. But not only that, after, when as I got older, I just didn't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just didn't appeal to me at all, So
some things happened with your businesses and stuff that, what kinds of things started going wrong?
Well, the real estate market started to crash. It started to get real weak as far as I worked with buyers and sellers, but mostly sellers, people that wanted to sell their houses. I would represent them. And when I would list their house, I stopped getting buyers. See, when I opened up my company, here's the difference. I'd put a sign in the front yard called James, and the house would sell in 24 hours, and I didn't do anything. Almost felt guilty. You do that 5 or 6 times a month. And that's how good the market was. And it wasn't because I was special. It was because that's just how good the market was. Now, that was going on for about 2 years. And then there's a little crash there. And nobody was selling houses. And I was able to hang on to my company for 6 months. And then I lost it. And when I say lost it, so now that's my biggest accomplishment to date. To date, I was so proud of myself, just so proud,
Wow, and so
take care of my family,
and
to lose that, I don't know. It was tough. I felt that depression.
So depression and grief. Did you feel like you were grieving, like you lost something important that you had, kind of like your baby that you had developed? And
exactly.
And then I'm assuming that your income level dropped. That must have also been a little family stress.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. And just everything seemed to just come down at once. It's just that and just everything else. It's just almost suffocating. I just couldn't, I couldn't believe that it was happening. And I was so badly, like I say, my greatest accomplishment to pass the test, to become a broker, to get the franchise. That's just one piece, but that was huge for me just to pass that test. But then to open my company and be successful was something that I was very proud of.
Oh, I know the feeling, and then when things begin to go wrong, rather than say some friends just encouraging you to hang on. Somehow friends started suggesting you drink. Is that sort of what happened?
That's what happened. Yeah. And I'm at a depression. I felt like I was kind of naive now that I think back, because when I thought of depression, people with depression, I thought, oh, maybe they're sad for a few weeks. No. This was a depression that I didn't even know existed in the world. It was like 7 or 8 feet below anything that I ever thought was possible. And I was at a friend's house, and he knew I hadn't drank. He knew me well, and he says, "James, this is what I do. This is what we do. We drink a beer. It's like this is how we put it. It's not like a lower tab or a Percocet. It's like taking some Tylenol when you have a headache. You just take the Tylenol and it fixes the headache, and that's cool. That's what a beer does. You just be able to relax. You're too uptight. You're too anxious. You're sad." And I bought it. I bought the deal because at that point in time, I felt like the world was ending, and I was okay with it. I really was.
But like so many alcoholics, it sounds like you kind of really enjoyed it, though, too. And that it was pretty profound on your mood.
Oh my goodness. I literally could not believe what 3 beers did for me. I mean, I was asking myself, where have you been my whole life?
In the closet.
That's what's going through my head. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know. So now I understood. Why people might come home from work and have a beer. Now I understood why some people go to the bar on the weekend. They just want to relax. Because up to that point, I didn't get that. I didn't understand why they would do that. Now I get it.
Sure.
Now I get it. I'm a believer after 3 beers.
But like so many people, including myself and my story, it doesn't stop at beer.
Right. Right, it doesn't.
And
so,
what came next?
Well, growing up, I knew too. If you were to ask me what drinks have alcohol in them, I would have told you Budweiser, just because at Christmas time I like the Budweiser wagons pulling by horses, right? And Budweiser. That's how I knew Budweiser. And then I just heard vodka probably on a TV show somewhere. And so the next thing that came to my mind, this is 2 days after I met with my friend after the beers, my depression came back. Wasn't ready for that. Naive. I didn't know how all that worked. It dropped, and I was even more depressed. And I thought to myself this. I thought, well, if beer did that, what would vodka do? Because I knew enough to know that if beer did that, what would vodka do? Because vodka was more like...
And James, we're going to find out what vodka did when we come back from this first break. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Grigg, a life and recovery coach with Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. I've had the pleasure and privilege of helping people for over 25 years. I want to hear your story, support and encourage you while we partner together to help you reach your goals. I can help you. I am certain I can help you. I can be your guide, role model, resource person, and help you get results. What's my coaching frameworks? I'm an eclectic coach drawing from a variety of disciplines and frameworks with evidence-based proven methods. What would you like to work on? Some popular areas are goal setting and attainment, building and maintaining motivation, finding purpose, personal development, recovery from drug and alcohol addiction problems, health and wellness, life planning, athletic and creative artist performance enhancement, maybe something else. Just ask me. I would love to help you. You can find my services on Fiverr.com. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and we have James Dallin with us from Salt Lake City, Utah area, somewhere in there.
A little
James,
south.
Yeah, a little south. Well, when we left off, you had told me that, and our viewers, that you had developed a few businesses, you had a wife, 3 kids, things were going good, then there was trouble with the businesses, and you had some depression, and you tried some beer, and it really helped, so you decided if beer was good, maybe vodka was better. And so what happened with all that?
Yeah, what happened was, so 2 days after that game, I just thought of vodka, because that feeling I had with the beer was unreal, and I wanted that feeling back. And I knew vodka was a little bit, I knew it was stronger than beer. I knew that much. And I didn't know where to get it. I didn't know where to get vodka. So I Googled where to get vodka, and I found it in the Proba liquor store. So I found out what time they opened. I was the first customer inside, and I asked the attendant there. I said, "Hey, looking for the vodka section?" I was thinking just a little section like this big. Oh, no. He's like, "That whole wall over there is vodka." I'm like, what? So I walk over there and I get a value-sized vodka. It's almost a gallon-sized type vodka.
I wonder if that was like a really high-quality vodka, or was that vodka made in Colorado or something?
Yeah, it was cheap. It was cheap kind, yeah. Now I know that now. I didn't know that then.
Gallon of vodka, oh man. So you started drinking vodka, it sounds like.
Yeah, I brought it home and snuck it up into my closet. My wife didn't know, and nobody knew. And I went up there that first time, and I just took the cap off and took 3 or 4, gulps of that, and thought I was going to throw it up. Barely kept it down.
Wow.
And 15 minutes later, I was a different person. I could not believe it. I could not believe how that this was here my whole life, and I didn't know about it. It's probably a good thing, but
yeah. But it's you were having some depression because of the business losses and the extra stress, and some people might have gone to the doctor and got an antidepressant or something.
Yeah.
But you did, like so many of us do. We started looking for solutions in a bottle, and we don't want people to think that you can't have an effect from drinking. I mean, it can profoundly change your mood and give you euphoria, but also, though, it can cause some long-term problems.
Yeah.
So part of it was that you had to kind of be sneaky at home. How did you pull that off before your wife figured out that you were, like, beginning to drink heavily of the vodka?
Yeah, she's pretty good. She knows me pretty well. But to answer your question, I snuck it. I tried to hide it as long as I possibly could. But what would happen with me is that feeling that I love, that buzz, kind of almost drunk and kind of drunk.
Yeah.
Feeling, I didn't want to go away.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't let it go away. I started feeling coming down. No way. No. I went back up to the closet. More drinks, so I got back up here. And I did that for a couple weeks, but it was about day 3 when my wife was like, what is going on with you? And by 4 or 5, I was laying on the ground. And then she just asked me, and I said, I drink vodka. I'm drinking vodka right now. I was just couldn't handle everything. She was surprised. She knew something was different.
Do you have a sense of, at that time, about how many ounces of vodka a day you were drinking? Or were you buying, like, gallon bottles of vodka on a regular basis? Or looking back, do you have a sense of how many sort of 1-ounce drinks a day that would have been equal to?
I have. Well, that jug right there, at first that would last me, 4 or 5, 6 days, the jug of it.
Okay, so you're doing a good clip.
By the time I ended, I was drinking one of those every 2 days.
Well, that's a really good clip.
Wow. So your drinking escalated to the point where you were drinking a gallon of vodka every 2 days. 32 ounces a day on average. Yeah. Wow, if 64 ounces in a gallon. An American gallon as opposed to a British gallon.
Let's not make this complicated. Yeah. You're already...
Well, I can tell you, and when we talked about this the other night, your liver is going to begin to have trouble drinking that much vodka. And you, in our pre-production meeting, had talked about that you felt you had become a non-functional alcoholic. Is that the word you used? Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was non-functional, which meant that basically my kids had to step over me to get in their bedrooms at night to go to sleep. I was all over the yard in random places, just knocked out, embarrassing their kids, halfway in closets, halfway out. Non-functioning meaning I lost my house, I lost property, I lost my cars, ripped my kids out of a good neighborhood into a bad neighborhood. When I say non-functioning alcoholic, I don't remember anything for 2 solid years is what I was an alcoholic for. I got a DUI. Are you kidding? James Dallin had businesses and I got a DUI. That I had a perfect record up until that point. Yeah, now I'm booked into the Utah County Jail.
Wow. Wow. It's amazing how many of us alcoholics are surprised when we get a DUI. It's like, what's going on? Yeah. Wow, James. And that went on for 2 years where you lost so much financially and were unavailable and not functioning. And then at some point you briefly sobered up. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I went to the doctor. I wasn't feeling too well. My wife convinced me to go to the doctor. So I'm going to the doctor, and he did some blood work up. And we asked him specifically that my wife did to specifically look at my liver because I was drinking so much.
Yeah.
And so he did. And he came back, and the results were good. And he said, your liver's going down. It's tanking it. He says, you need to quit. You need to quit it. It's going to become a big problem. In fact, it's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And he says, I see this a lot of times. And the thing that was interesting, and I like to bring up to people when they ask, is he said this, and I'll never forget it. He said, everybody is different. Just because somebody can drink for 5 years doesn't mean someone can't drink for 2 and be worse off, and they're okay. Some people drink for 10 years and they're okay. Yeah, that's what he told me.
That's very true.
And he says some people drink 2 years like you, and that we start having problems. And I'll never forget that, because it's true. As my story goes on, I really understand that now. But he said, "Listen, I don't know how long you're going to be here, but it's not going to be very long. I mean, we're talking. You need to fix this. You need to stop." I mean, the liver it can get better by itself. It's one of those organs that if you start getting healthy again, it will do okay. So I had an option: sober or keep going down that path. And
yeah, and so sort of the fear of dying and bad consequences was enough for you to get sober up for a while.
Yeah, it was, and it was the second hardest thing I've ever done, and it was part of me. It was numbing me. It was my, I like to say, fake form of happiness. It was just
sure.
So I knew when I came off, I was going to have to deal with those feelings of losing my business, of losing my properties, my cars, devastating my kids. I didn't do anything with my kids. In fact, I don't even remember them, with a few exceptions.
Wow.
So I had to deal with all of that. And then I have to wake up from that situation, and I'm living in my mother-in-law's apartment or basement.
Oh,
and to me, that's like the ultimate humiliation right there.
Your parents, it's your mother-in-law's basement.
Your mother-in-law's basement. Well, you're right, and we're going to talk about how, after briefly doing better, your situation got a whole lot worse when we come right back. Hi, it's Peter from the set of The Third Chair. I just want to put in a good word for my good friend and owner of 9 Round Kickboxing in Colorado Springs, Melissa Lance. Her studios provide a phenomenal workout in 30 minutes. I know I've benefited from it over the last 2 years. I've lost over 30 pounds and really appreciate the encouragement, the excitement, the expertise of the trainers. It's a great workout. I encourage you to check it out. That's 9 Round Kickboxing in Colorado Springs.
welcome back to the third chair. This is Peter. He's tired of talking, so I'm going to talk this segment. And this is James, who's tired of talking, but he's going to have to tough it out. Okay, and we're going to talk about hobbies because you mentioned you like to read, and you have read a lot of business books and self-help, and that's how you got started in your real estate business. Can you tell us about some of the books you read?
Yeah, after high school, I really had some self-confidence issues as far as learning. I really didn't feel like I was that smart, so I picked up books that I was interested in, and that was business books and self-help books. And I just couldn't put them down. I couldn't, because I was learning things in there that I had no clue about, first of all, but I feel like I should have known, by that age, and I didn't, and it just intrigued me. I couldn't get enough of it. I read a book called Thinking for a Change. I read How to Influence Friends and Influence
favorite.
People by Dale Carnegie. I think
Dale
Carnegie. I think his name is. I read TEDx books because that interests me in speaking. So I read a couple of TEDx books on how to do that. Anything to do with speaking, and then just business books, because I wanted to open my own business. I didn't know what form or which one I'd do, but I just read, and that was my education. Let me be honest with you. That's where I learned everything. It's through books. So creating.
So at this time, did you read any like fiction books, or it was basically business and self-help books?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that, self-help books and business books, and a lot of people ask me about, well, what about not relaxing, go down a little fairy tale or some kind of book like that. And for me, I just wasn't interested in that. Still not. I just like real. I want to soak in real stuff. But a lot of people say, and this is probably true, James, you need to just relax once in a while. Enjoy going down a movie that's just a good storyline and makes you feel good and that kind of thing. And they're probably right. But if I had my choice,
do you go to many movies?
Be business, be something along those lines. Public speaking. Yeah.
Do you watch many movies?
No, I don't. Now I'll get on YouTube and I'll watch people that talk about public speaking. I'll watch business books. I'll watch business videos. I'll watch all sorts of different things on there. But as far as movies, I honestly, if I'm real honest, they don't interest me. And I don't know if that's just because I don't want to waste my time on stuff that's not going to really help me progress. I don't know what it is, because at the same time, I feel like that would be kind of good for me to just relax, go down a road that's, listen to a storyline it's more fairy tale. It's just kind of just to relax. And my wife always told me that, hey, just settle down. You need to just do that. And I probably should have, but man, if I was going to pick up a book today, it'd be a business book or a self-help book of some kind.
Do you still read a lot, or do you?
Yeah.
And have you read a book recently that kind of hit you, like, oh, I wish I had known this before, or?
Well, what I've been reading recently is the TEDx books, and how in TEDx, I'm in an interesting spot in that book, and that's storytelling. How important storytelling is, and how to keep audience kind of engaged, and how powerful a storyteller can be. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is reading books like that.
It's kind of funny. That's what happened. I noticed in some speeches today is like, everybody says, well, you start off with a joke and then you get the audience on your side. And so you see a lot of speakers, and they come out and they do one joke, and then all the rest is serious, and they never get off, and then they don't tell stories or anything like that. And it's kind of like, it's not enough just to tell the one joke at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good there's a book like
that's
that.
That's right. And I've learned so much about it. I wish I could do a whole talk on that, how much I've learned, because I knew nothing. But I was intrigued by it. I was always interested in public speaking, but from a young age. But I didn't know everything. I mean, there's so many things that go into it that will separate you from the ones that are kind of mediocre, like you talking about, to maybe a little bit more interesting, So, that's very true. I mean, I've learned so much just in the doing, and then the reading, and then the listening and watching. A lot of it has to do with body language. I didn't know that, but it does. I mean, and so I just try to perfect that. With the books, and my books are teaching me this, how to perfect it. I want to learn everything. I want to know how the best in the world work. And I tell my kids this. I said, everything you do, try to be the best in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. Whether you make it or not, you make it 200. You're 200. That's fine, and that's okay. But always shoot for trying to be the best. And I wasted so much time. And wasting time, almost a decade. And I don't have time. I'm just soaking up every minute, and I just want to become the best I can. That's it.
Well, do you exercise? Because I noticed you're pretty thin. Do you exercise, or does that help you relax? Or
I will do push-ups once in a while.
The most intense thing.
Yeah, I really don't. Now, it's been a while, but I've never stepped foot in a gym. Never. Everything I've done was from home: push-ups, curls, sit-ups, that kind of thing, and that was good. But for now, right now, I take my dog for a walk. Or I should say, she takes me for a walk. That's what she does.
What kind of dog do you have?
She's a big dog. But what's that?
What kind of dog do you have?
She's a Doberman Pinscher.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah.
So she's
she's
really loving. She looks scary, but she's a good girl.
I noticed you have caps there. Is that one of your hobbies? Is collect caps, or you just have them?
Yeah. I collect hats. A lot of people will say, "You're a Pirates fan?" I said, "No, I just like the hat." You're a Chicago fan? No, I just like the hat. You're White Sox? No, I just like the hat. So I just collect hats that I like. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So how about music? Do you listen to music while you're reading these books or anything like that?
Usually not while I'm reading. I have like one track kind of thing, but when I'm not reading, there's a lot of country I love. I listen to some rock and roll. I like that. I like some of your songs that, what I grew up with. Is Chicago. I like the REO Speedwagons. I like the Journeys of the world. Boston. Yeah. I love all those. Also, I love big band. I love blues. I love that. I love some techno and inspirational stuff, like that kind of stuff. I'm not really into the rap. I'm not into some of these groups that just I think that just are a waste of time. I don't know. They don't bring in what I mean by that. They don't make me feel warm and fuzzy in the feeling I want to feel, to put myself in the state of mind that I want to be in. So, and some people that works, rap or whatever. But for me, it doesn't work. So
different types, but I'm more your type of music. And when we come back, Peter will get back on the discussion of your drug addictions and continue that story.
We'll get back to our guest in just a moment. But
do you have a story to tell?
Would you, yes you, like to be a guest on The Third Chair?
Send us an email and tell us about yourself and your story.
And please follow us on social media.
Now back to the episode.
Welcome back to The Third Chair. I'm Peter. That is Doug. That is still Doug. And we're with our special guest, James Dallin, coming to us live from the area of Salt Lake City, Utah. James, thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
And so, as we had mentioned at the beginning of the show, you were successful in business for a while until the businesses had a downturn and you began to drink heavily, and you reached a time where you managed to sober yourself up for about 10 months. But then, as I understand it, a lady that was a bar manager had some other suggestions about how you might want to live your life. Tell us what happened with that.
Yeah. So in that 10 months, I felt like I needed to get a job. Now I couldn't work. I couldn't go sell houses because with the criminal record now, we got DUI, can't sell houses anymore.
Right.
In the state of Utah. So what I went back to, my default was retail. So I knew retail. So I applied to a few places. I got a job at a store, as store manager in a small store in a city called Midvale, Utah. And I didn't like it at all. I mean, I didn't like the smell of it, the location of it, the customers. I didn't like any of it. I was working 75 hours before Christmas. And the hard thing for me was that I was working for somebody else. And before I was working for myself. And that's what kept coming to my head, and I was depressed. Now I can't go out to the trunk of my car and get my fake form of happiness, which was my vodka. I had to just deal with it. Well, this lady, like you mentioned, she came into the store, this customer, and she came in every day to buy the supplies that she needed for the bar that she worked in. She was head bartender in South Salt Lake City. I got to know her well. She got to know me well because she came in, first customer, and we talked. She knew I couldn't have alcohol. She knew I was an alcoholic. And she comes in one day and she grabs her supplies and comes up to the counter. And she says to James, am I the only one in the store? I said, yeah, like, oh, he's why? And she said, I got something for you. And at that point, I'm just, kind of whatever. And she said, what I got for you is something that I have been doing for 3 to 4 years. That's what she first said. And I'll try to get this word for word, but I'll mess it up a little bit. She said, what I've got for you is something that will help your anxiety. Your depression will go down. All this work, you'll be a little Energizer bunny. Not a problem. You'll be high functioning. And she said this word 3 times, which was kind of funny. She said, what I've got is it's odorless. What I've got is it's odorless. It's not like alcohol where people can smell it coming off your body. It's odorless. And the best thing about that is your wife, she won't know.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, what is this lady thinking? And she brings out of her purse about this big, a bag this big, and she basically puts it in my hand. So I'm holding this, and I know it's a drug at that point. I don't know which one. I didn't do that. I don't know which one, but she says this. She says, what that is crystal meth. Now, immediately, I looked at her, and she just told me she'd been doing it for 3 to 4 years. And in my head, people that use meth were like just crazy. No teeth, the greasy hair, no house, just kind of bums. And that's arrogant thinking. I know that now, but that's what I thought. And I thought, well, she looks good. And the deal, it sounded fantastic because I was depressed and I was okay with the world ending. So I take the drug. She starts to leave. And I asked her to come back. I said, I don't know how to do this drug. Can you teach me how to do this drug? And so she gave me a little pipe. That's how she did it. And I was excited about it. A little nervous, but I was excited. went straight to my office before the customers started coming in, and I did the drug 3 or 4 times that day. That's what I did. It's crazy to think about, but that's what I did. And I locked it in my filing cabinet, and I went home so my other employees wanted to see it. And the next morning, same thing. I came back first thing in the morning, 3, 4, 5 times I did the drug. Now I didn't sleep on night 1. Night two, same thing. Didn't sleep, but on day 2, see, on day 1, I had more energy. That's what I really felt. Mm-hmm. Day 2, I could feel my anxiety and depression start to go down. So now I'm like, okay, wow, okay, all right. Now day 3, here's what's different about day 3. I did the drug in the morning and I did it in the afternoon. By the night of day 3, I love people. I really do. I've always loved people. A customer came up to me and asked me a question. This is when I figured out I was changing, because she asked me a question and I just looked through her like, what are you doing? Why are you in front of me? It was just, and I tell the kids, this is the hardest part of my story. I can't explain it, but it felt like I could see my compassion leave. If you did not have a heart, if you had a heartbeat, like, I didn't care about you. It was crazy. It was just crazy hard to explain. Day 4, same thing, morning, afternoon. By the night of day 4, I had enough of that job. Me? I'm not doing this job anymore. But I haven't slept yet. I'm not doing this job. I'm too good for this job. Arrogant. That's arrogant now. I'm not doing this. I take the keys out of my pocket and put them on the front counter and walk out. Right before Christmas, no manager now. And I text my district manager in the parking lot and said I quit. And he started saying stuff, and I hung up the phone and I put it on my front seat because I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to come back. And I went home. And my compassion for people had left completely, including, unfortunately, my own family, my wife and my kids. And
wow.
When I went home, I started getting this little bag, and I was going to take a couple weeks off. What I mean by that is I needed some. Here's what I'm thinking, and this isn't like me either. I need James time. I need to be alone. This is what I'm telling my wife. My kids are upstairs asleep, and I'm telling my wife, I need some James time. I've done everything. I've worked hard. I deserve it. And she's just looking at me like, what's going on? Because if I go anywhere, she always went with me, and I've never talked to her. I'm saying, don't call me. Don't try to find me. Don't use your little GPS, situation on your phone to try to track me. Don't do any of that. I just need to be left alone for 2 weeks, two weeks or so. And then when I shut the door in her face, I'll never forget the way she looked at me, just devastated. And the thing I like to remind people about, just 10 months earlier, 10 months, we just got off the hardest 2 years of our marriage, of me being an alcoholic. If it was not for her, I would not have got off alcohol. Uh-huh. I would not have done it. So you can imagine what she's thinking. And I shut the door, and when I shut the door, I said, by the way, I quit my job. No filling, straight face, got my car and left. And I didn't feel anything. And I was almost excited about that, because that made me, so now I feel like I can go and do stuff because I didn't have a conscience. I really didn't. And that drug on day 4, it took over my life. It changed everything.
Wow.
So
and that's fast too.
Yeah. So I left.
How long were you gone?
Well, it turns out it wasn't a couple weeks. It wasn't even a couple months. It wasn't a couple years. It was just under 5.5 years. And that I left. Years. I left those 4.
You were gone, and I'm assuming you led the life of someone in the world of drugs and being on the street and that kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, just to stay close to that drug, that I didn't care.
Let's
James,
I
didn't care about anything.
Let's hold that thought for a moment, and we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Peter from the set of The Third Chair. I just want to put in a good word for my good friend and owner of 9 Round Kickboxing in Colorado Springs, Melissa Lance. Her studios provide a phenomenal workout in 30 minutes. I know I've benefited from it over the last 2 years. I've lost over 30 pounds and really appreciate the encouragement, the excitement, the expertise of the trainers. It's a great workout. I encourage you to check it out. That's 9 Round Kickboxing in Colorado Springs. Welcome back to The Third Chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and we're with our special guest, James Dallin from the Salt Lake City area. James, welcome back.
Thank you.
Our viewers may have noticed in the last segment for 30 seconds or so, we had some reception problems. We're doing this interview via Zoom, and we had a few issues there, but we're doing much better now. So, the question you were answering before we had some trouble was you had come home after 4 days of doing meth, and you let your wife know that you were heading out on the highway. What happened there, and how long were you gone?
Yeah, so what happened was I was, I told her not to call me, those types of things. And right before I shut the door, I told my wife, and by the way, I quit my job. And she's just in shock. And I shut the door, and here's the crazy thing is I didn't feel anything. I felt nothing, like no remorse or anything. Got in the car, I told her I'd be gone for a couple of weeks. And it turns out it wasn't a couple of weeks. It wasn't even a couple of months or a couple of years. It was just under 5.5 years. I still can't believe it to this day, but it was just under 5.5 years. I left my kids and my wife.
Wow.
For 5.5 years.
And I'm assuming that during that time you were involved in active meth addiction and doing some stuff on the streets and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was completely addicted to that drug after day 4, and then I just got more and more and more. And the bar I worked in, they went out of business a year and a half later, but the bar I worked in, I basically lived there. I lived there in that bar owner's house. She's about an 80-year-old lady. And I was numb. I was completely numb. And I turned it. I say Superman. I say Superman because I felt like Superman. And that's the dangerous thing with the drug is when I was in the bar, the big people, the big tall guys would come in, and I would like to say things to make them wanna just get rid of me, whether that be throw me around or whatever.
You wanted to fight some big guys.
I felt like that was I love that. And I really feel like a lot of anger from my past and stuff like that possibly was just coming out in this meth. It just became crazy.
So, James, what we're going to do, because you have so many more stories to share, we're going to ask you to come back next week and talk more about the addiction part of things, but also you have, after you turn things around after 5.5 years, you are now a professional speaker where you talk to kids in high school and middle school. We're going to get that whole story next week as well.
But can you give us an overview of that so our guests have something to look forward to, and then you can give them like an email address of your business in case they're interested in your services?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My email is pretty easy. It's just james@jamesdallin.com. And then Instagram's a good place to find me, and that's Addiction Talk. Addiction Talk on Instagram, jamesdallin.com as well. So those 3 places are really, really the best places to reach me. Yeah.
And what kinds of people or opportunities would you like to contact you? Like, for instance, if it's schools in the state of Utah, would those be people you in terms of a professional speaking gig? And are you involved at all in coaching or counseling or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not an official coach per se, but what I do is I talk to so many different people. I talk to kids' parents. The kids come home and talk to them about the presentation. They'll call me and we'll talk about it. I talk to people across the country that see my Instagram about a number of things. So I'm always open. Now, what I like to say is I'm not a professional counselor, so I get that out of the way. Right? So, but I have resources. So if someone is hurting out there and needs some help, I've got resources. I'll always talk to you and do my best that I can that's appropriate. And then I have these resource numbers that I can give to you and pass them along.
Thank you. Yeah. So we're going to have to wrap it up for tonight. So thanks for watching this episode.
Watch next week because this is a very, very important subject.
Yeah, watch next week. It's a very important subject. And please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so you know when we've uploaded a new video. From 2 Men and a Duck Entertainment in the third chair, good night. We'll see you next week with James. Good night.
This has been the third chair. Want to be a guest? Want to sponsor our show? Send us an email. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media.